Welcome to the ACE Project, brought to you by the Literacy.io team at Texas A&M University. I'm your host, Ashley Stack, also known as Captain Comprehension. We are so excited you'll be joining us on this reading journey and hope you and your child enjoy this time together. So get comfy, rev up your brains, and get ready to think, because we are ready to help you become a comprehension detective. Hi, comprehension detectives. Welcome back to week 4 of our ACE Literacy Project. It's Captain Comprehension here, and I'm going to help you on your journey to become a super reader. This week, I'm bringing you Pete the Cat, I Love My White Shoes. Today, we are going to read about Pete the Cat and his new white shoes. As we read, see if you can figure out how Pete feels about his shoes, what happens to them, and how he reacts. Before we begin, let's go over some important vocabulary words that you're going to need to know. The first word is moral. Moral is a lesson that we learn from stories. Some synonyms might be lesson or principle, and there aren't any opposites or antonyms for this word. The second is a short phrase. It's all good. All good is a way of saying you feel very positive about things. Some synonyms or word that means the same would be no worries, and an antonym or opposite might be trouble or problem. Pause your video or your podcast and text POD04 to 866-903-2545 to start our first questions. Continue listening and I'll read them with you. Which word is a synonym for the word moral? A, story, B, problem, C, ruthless, D, lesson. Which word or phrase helps the reader understand the meaning of all good in the story? A, squeak, B, everything is cool, C, oh no, D, wet. All right, comprehension detectives, it's time for us to read the selection. Pete the Cat was walking down the street in his brand new white shoes. Pete loved his white shoes so much, he sang this song. I love my white shoes, I love my white shoes, I love my white shoes. Oh no! Pete stepped in a large pile of strawberries. What color did it turn his shoes? Red! Did Pete cry? Goodness, no! He kept walking along and singing his song. Everything is cool. I love my red shoes, I love my red shoes, I love my red shoes. Oh no! Pete stepped in a large pile of blueberries. What color did it turn his shoes? Blue! Did Pete cry? Goodness, no! He kept walking along and singing his song. Awesome. I love my blue shoes. I love my blue shoes. I love my blue shoes. Oh no! Pete stepped in a large puddle of mud. What color did it turn his shoes? Brown! Did Pete cry? Goodness, no! He kept walking along and singing his song. Groovy. I love my brown shoes. I love my brown shoes. I love my brown shoes. Oh no! Pete stepped in a bucket of water, and all the brown and all the blue and all the red were washed away. What color were his shoes again? white, but now they were wet. Did Pete cry? Goodness, no. He kept walking along and singing his song. Rock and roll. I love my wet shoes. I love my wet shoes. I love my wet shoes. The moral of Pete's story is no matter what you step in, keep walking along and singing your song, because it's all good. Okay, detectives, I sure hope you enjoyed that story. Now let's use our easy trick we've learned to write the main idea of Pete the Cat, I love my white shoes. First, we have to identify the text structure of the story. So what are some things that we heard that might help us with the text structure? Well, it kept saying, oh no. Usually when somebody says, oh no about something, that might be a problem. Of course, when it asked the question, did Pete get upset? It said, goodness no. That tells me something about how Pete might have solved his problem. Did Pete cry? Well, if something makes you cry, it's definitely probably a problem. But in the end, it said, it's all good. And he kept walking along and singing his song. Have you figured out the text structure? Check on your bookmark and see if you can identify which text structure it is. Then pause your video, go back to the texting survey, and answer the question about the text structure of Pete the Cat, I love my white shoes. Welcome back. It's time for us to write our main idea. If you identify the text structure as cause, problem, and solution, then you're ready to do this. The cause is, the problem is, and the solution is. Go ahead and pause your video, go back to the texting survey, and send in your main idea. Here's what I wrote for mine. How did you do? The causes are Pete steps in strawberries, blueberries, and mud. The problem is his white shoes get dirty. The solution is Pete does not get upset and steps in water that washes his shoes. All right, let's use our main idea to answer a multiple choice main idea question. Remember, the cause, the problem, and the solution help us define which one is the best. So what is the best main idea for this selection? A, Pete the cat loves his white shoes, but they get dirty after he steps in strawberries, blueberries, and mud. Pete is not happy about his shoes being dirty. B, Pete the cat just keeps walking along and singing his song. C, Pete the cat's white shoes get dirty from strawberries, blueberries, and mud. When he steps in water, colors wash out, and it's all good. D, Pete the cat sings a song about his new shoes. He loves his shoes no matter what. Finally, he gets to take his shoes off and lay on the couch after walking around all day. Pause your video, go back to the texting survey, and answer the question about the main idea. Hi, detectives! It's time for us to add a few details and create a summary. First, we think back to our main idea. In our main idea, we said the causes are Pete steps in strawberries, blueberries, and mud. Go ahead and add some details about the cause. The problem is his white shoes get dirty. We want to add a couple of details that tell us how his shoes got dirty. The solution is Pete does not get upset and steps in water that washes his shoes. Add some details to go with that as well. When you're ready, come back to the video so you can look at what I did. Here we go. The causes are Pete steps in strawberries, blueberries, and mud. His shoes turn red, then blue, and then brown. The problem is his white shoes get dirty. Pete does not let this upset him, and he keeps on singing. The solution is Pete does not get upset and steps in water that washes his shoes. All of the colors run out, and though his shoes are wet, Pete says, it's all good. How did yours compare to mine? I bet you made some great decisions on it. Now, let's use the summary we just wrote to help us answer a multiple choice summary question. Here we go. What is the best summary of the selection? A. Pete loves his white shoes, but he steps in strawberries, turning them red, blueberries, turning them blue, and mud, turning them brown. He does not get upset, and the colors run out of his shoes when he steps in water. B. Pete was walking along singing, "I love my white shoes, I love my white shoes," when he steps in a big pile of strawberries. His shoes turn red, so he changes his song to, "I love my red shoes, I love my red shoes." C. Pete the cat sings about his shoes. First he sings, "I love my white shoes." Then he sings, "I love my red shoes." Then it becomes, "I love my blue shoes," and "I love my brown shoes," before he finally sings, "I love my wet shoes." D. Pete the cat loves his shoes so much that nothing can ruin his song or his walk. He spends the day riding on a car, drinking coffee, and playing his guitar. All right, select the answer that best fits what we wrote for our summary. Then when you're ready, pause your video, go back to the texting survey, and send us your answer. Hey detectives, welcome back. It's time for us to infer. Remember, when we infer, we take clues from the text we've read, we add it in with our background knowledge or what we already know, and we make an inference. Let's do this. What does the author mean by the moral of the story? What strategies did Pete use to not get upset? Pause and discuss these questions with your parent. All right, let's answer it in multiple choice format. What does the author mean by the moral of the story? A. Don't get upset by the small stuff. B. Walking in dirty shoes can be fun. C. Watch out for strawberries, blueberries, and mud when you go for a walk. D. White shoes are the best kind. What strategies did Pete use to not get upset? A. Drinking coffee and playing guitar. B. Sitting on the couch and stretching. C. Climbing mountains of berries. D. Walking along and singing a song. Text in your answers. Great work, comprehension detectives. It's been so much fun reading this book with you this week, and I sure hope that you'll join us again next week for our next episode. Until then, remember, we can all be super readers. Parents, want to see this strategy in action? Click the link in the show notes to watch or listen to a clip of one of our literacy team members working with their own child using this strategy.